Hello all, this is Researcher Sprite. I am here to welcome you to our logs on the story we refer to as The Forge in the Sea. We researchers try to document everything we can as correctly and unbiasedly as we can. Luckily for us, this story has been recorded so we can keep our hands off of them. We try our best here not to interfere with the documentation of our logs. However, sometimes I may pop in at the beginning to give warnings about the content matter discussed in these logs, or if I feel something might have been seen as a mistake, or in the end, if something happens or is said in the log and I wish to expand upon the context. With that being said, I hope you enjoy the recordings we have found on this currently unnamed planet. Log 1. Hello. To whomever is listening to this, whether that be my children, nieces, nephews, or even grandchildren, today is the first day of my true life. I have just received this recorder to document my journey through life, to help those of the next generation. Along with this recorder, I have also been given a dagger to use to protect myself and my siblings. Father says that he will even teach me how to wield it. For now, this is where I shall end this recording. Next time you hear from me, I will be proficient with the dagger and have enjoyed my Genesis. Praise be to Didna. Hello once again. I know at the end of my last recording I said that I would be proficient with the dagger. I am afraid that I have overestimated my abilities and have not grown as fast as I had hoped. But I am sure by the next log I shall be able to hold my own in a fight. I have also just realized that I have forgotten to announce this as log 2. However, we shall keep this as the first log, as it is still the same day. Along with my training, I have also been playing with my siblings, your aunts, uncles, or mothers or fathers or grandparents. We have had a great time creating a story through demon dice. It was a great story of loss and betrayal, of heroism and greatness. It all started when the Grim, a mysterious bounty hunter.
Ah!
What's going on? Who are you? What do you want? Oh, you're gonna protect yourself with that puny little thing? Hey, Slacknar, come here. This kid's showing some grit. Oh yeah? Let's see. Yeah, look at that beauty thing. I'm sure it'll be good for this operation. What operation? Who are you? Why are you doing this? Quiet, kid. Get some rest. Log 2. Hello. For the third time now. I see now that the assumption that this recording would ever reach my family in the coming generations it was short-sighted of me. Should you be listening to these logs in the correct order, you should remember the destruction of my hometown, and you will now know that it was the terra firma who did it, if you did not before. It has been quite a long time since I was taken from my family half-conscious, I assume so that they could parade me around to see my loved ones as they were executed on the street. I suppose if I had to pick something I see as a silver lining, it would be that, one, they saw my recorder and deemed it important enough to bring with them, and two, I've held up on my promise. I am fully proficient with daggers at the start of log 2. Um, I just wish it had not taken me so long to make this log. For whomever finds these logs no longer just constrained to my family, I wish to document my experience of being forced to be a dog for the terra firma and the time until my inevitable death. Not much has happened since I was kidnapped, other than the basic training to get me ready for Operation Shadow Reach, which right, um, you don't you do not know what that is. I have become accustomed to all this information as I have been learning about it since I was captured, and forget that not everybody understands all of the code names. Operation Shadowreach is the operation that those two men that captured me were talking about. It is the excursion to study the inner workings and layout of the forge in the sea, and to determine why it is there and why it still bellows smoke. I was chosen as the lead for this excursion, as I was showed the most promise out of my division. However, I will also be taking most of them with me, only excluding those that have passed, as they were not seen as capable of proceeding on with the mission. Um, there will also be one of the corporals going with us, and I assume that it is to make sure we die should we step out of line. The 35 excursions before mine have not come back with an exception of the corporals, and not even all of them have come back. I would be lying if I were to say that I was not terrified to explore this maze, that very few have ever left alive. However, I do know that you cannot be brave without first being scared. Um, Before I walk into my inevitable death, I wish to immortalize those closest to me. We shall start with my family, who will have the shorter of the two sections, not because I do not care, but rather I have forgotten their faces in life and only remember them after their brutal demise at the hands of my captor. To my mother, Seraph, and my father, Castiel, I hope you know that I am alive and can only hope to meet you in Didda's realm. To my brothers, Kael, Uriel, Cassiel, Raziel, and Zachiel, I hope you are helping mother and father wrangle the rest of yourselves in the fortune. And lastly, to my sisters, Camille, Haniel, Ariel, Jophiel, Oriel, Angelica, and Amelia, I hope you are relaxing to the best of your abilities, even if our brothers are as annoying as they are. I love each and every one of you with all of my heart, and hope that you have had the chance to chat with Didna. Now we will move on to my division mates who are still living. First, there's Asmodeus, a previously kind-hearted man until his psyche was broken by the constant testing of the terra firma, and now he goes into what one might consider a rage when he sees someone close to him get hurt. Second is Mephistopheles, an agent very good at assassinations and sneaking around. He is a good person, but he is very, very distant. Next is Lucifer, one of my closest friends ever since the tragic passing of my. Never mind that. And then one of the extremely limited number of Toffets with wings. He is very knowledgeable about the early times and their scripts. Fourth is Belial. Very meat-headed, very blunt. I get along with Belial the least because he has attempted to kill me and the others many times and has almost succeeded a majority of the time, as he is an extremely strong brute, possibly stronger than the terra firma. Fifth is Seraphina, who I have tried to become close with, but she has pushed me away, thinking I was helping our captors because I was given special treatment. Let me clarify, I have not once helped terra firma, aside from what I have been forced to do the same as them. However, I do believe that they saw something in me. Seraphina is extremely talented as a medic, though being able, she can even reattach limbs as long as they have been preserved correctly. Lilith, next, is extremely hot-headed woman, but an equally as skilled engineer. So skilled she has created a small familiar for herself out of these scraps that have been brought back from the forge. The seventh and final member of my division is Israfel, who is a skilled tactician and tries their best to be funny. However, I do not find their form of comedy enticing. Technically, one other member of my division still lives, and they even outrank me. It is the corporal traveling with us. I will not be leaving any extra information on this man, as he is the one of those that massacred my town and killed my previous squad mates. We still have no idea why the forge was built, that it and that is why we are being sent in to find the hidden records and discover how the forge is still running. On a recent mission, we were sent to dispatch some wolves attacking a village near the forest. However, these animals were strange. They had odd mutations. Nothing very serious. However, some had eyes spotted around their bodies, some had pitch black fur, and one of them had a mouth that was quite literally full of teeth, layer after layer of incredibly sharp teeth. It managed to bite me, and after we defeated the wolves, I ventured into the forest to see if I could find where they were coming from. But immediately I was turned away by the sickening feeling in my gut. Ever since that day, I have started to feel a piercing pain in my frontal lobe, but have been refused services at any of the medical stations as they claim that it will just go away. Uh, if whoever finds this does not know why this feeling occurs, I recommend you look into it in case it might one day plague your civilization too. With that being said, I will end this log. Praise be to Dinah. Log 3. This is the first log that I am making from inside the forge. I have convinced the corporal that I am recording logs not for the purpose of informing future generations, but to keep track of what we have seen inside the forge. While I will be talking about our findings, I am not doing this to relay it back to headquarters as much as I am to relay it to whoever may find it in the future. As such, I will describe the findings of our exploration. The rooms of the forge seem to change as you enter them, leading to a never-ending maze that only the lucky may leave. Many of the rooms have automatons that are vaguely similar in size to an average Tophet, doing menial tasks such as delivering items from one place to another, or hammering away at one of the items on a conveyor belt, or many other tasks of the same importance. Lucifer and I have also found ancient texts that we have yet to translate, but rest assured, as soon as we translate them, I will be sure to update you. Some of the rooms in this building seem to defy any form of reason or nature, where one room houses falls of lava flowing into pools of the same material, making every wall and floor red hot, and forcing Lilith to create iron-soled boots for us to be able to travel the entirety of the forge. Immediately next to one of those rooms would be a room covered in snow, housing chests filled with food, keeping us from dying of hunger. However, despite these rooms seeming like a boon, they, like the rest of the forge, were quite eerie, as there were static shadows decorating the walls that we did not cast. We have yet to discover anything to quench our thirst, however, we did bring many bottles of water with us and have not yet needed such services. I have come to the realization that this might not be found until me and my people are long extinct. As such, I would like to expand on my culture so that it too may be immortalized. Today, we will speak on Didna, the goddess of luck, because as you might assume, they are the god I worship and give praise to, as I try to end every log with the phrase, Praise be to Didna. We Tophet worship a deity of luck to give us a better chance at living a good life and a sense of control in harrowing events. We realize that life can't always be good, but it will be good more often with the blessing of Didna. It is believed that when someone dies, they are sent to one of two places, either the fortune where Didna rewards those who did good things in life with eternal good luck, or the tragedy where those who are bad are sent to have bad luck fall upon them for all eternity. There are stories I have heard of the Holy King, the chosen one of Didna, and how they cared for their subjects. However, I will admit, I have lost some faith in them, seeing as my town was destroyed and I was kidnapped. But I do realize that I lived in a small coastal town and have not heard anything from the kingdom of Vathos, possibly because we do not like speaking with the terra firma. And if you are from the distant future, where the continents are named something different, or from the sky and have no idea about this small world, the divine kingdom of Athos is where my race, the Tophets, live, and the terra firma live within the cryptocracy of Drunium. I have decided just now that I shall talk about the terra firma only as much as needed to keep a historical record, nothing more, hopefully less. The Terra Firma are large, hulking, egocentric people that worship no god, as they believe they sit on atop the universe. Anything else that I believe to be pertinent about the Terra Firma will come up when I believe it necessary, as I do not wish to bog down my mind with the information about them. With this, I shall end the log. Now that you know what it means, praise be to Dinah. Log 4. Hello, everyone. You may notice a hint of sorrow in my voice, and that would be because I have experienced another two losses of those I care about. Both Seraphina and Mephistopheles have passed into the fortune Didna's realm of the deceased. I know that there was nothing I could do looking back on it, but it still feels like it's all my fault. If I hadn't suggested that we keep trudging along, then they would have not stopped on the unstable footing and fallen to, you get it. I, I I do not know what to do. It feels like no matter what I choose, something is bound to go wrong, as if it had been predestined. Um, but now, moving on to my record about the layouts of the forge, we have finally found a source of water. There exist small symbols floating in the air. When touched, they expel a flagon's worth of water once per day. We have also followed one of the automatons one day and were not led to anything important. However, we did find an enormous room filled with automatons 10 times as large as the terra firma that were covered head to toe in moss and webs and dust. I have also seen dark black wisps emanate from the corners of rooms. However, no one else is apparently able to see these wisps. I fear for my own sanity at this point. Um, there are also strange, translucent people with animal-like properties walking around the forge. I can see that they're talking, but can never hear what they say. I only hear static when their mouths move. Sometimes it appears as though they are in conversation with someone, but most of the time I do not see the other person. Fortunately, the other members of my division can see these apparitions. Now we'll go on to my segment about Tophet culture. This log will cover the appearance of the Tophet. While this may not be considered culture by many, I do wish for you to be able to visualize us and put a face to those that have been massacred. Should we end up extinct, uh, yes, Tophets have appearances one might consider demonic or devilish. With We all have at least one of these following features, either pointed horns or slitted eyes. Some have arrow-tipped tails and vibrant red skin. However, we can have other traits, such as Lucifer being a rare case of a Tophet with wings. Some have goat legs, which is more widespread than the wings, and even fewer than the wings are those born with a goat head. I myself have very basic traits, but I do have many of them. I have horns, slitted eyes, a tail, and red skin. I do not wish for you to sympathize with my captors, however, so I shall say that they are large and muscular, perhaps even too muscular. I had never wished to be a leader. I only wanted to live a peaceful life, experiencing death when the elderly died of natural causes, not from murder or exploring a mysterious ruin in the middle of the sea. I do not know what is going on. I feel like I am going crazy with all the black wisps and the other things that are happening in this forge, and the deaths of Seraphina and Mephistopheles definitely don't help. I want to leave, but I feel like if I suggest to the corporal that we leave, then he'll kill all of us, leaving me for last, so I can see how he kills all of the others. I I must keep pushing through for the good of myself and for the five others. This marks the end of my fourth log, and with everything that has been said being said, praise be to Dinah. Log 5. I believe it to have been about 30 days since we have entered the forge. However, it feels like an eternity, and there is no way for me to know exactly how many days it has been. I have found more rooms to explore, and some of them have very interesting terrains. Very few of them have interiors of pure darkness that feels suffocating and might even have a temporal effect, or rather, one that affects time. The only noise we hear is from the pumping of the machinery and the echoes of footsteps, both our own and those of the automaton. One of the strangest things we have encountered in this strange ruin, even stranger than the towering figures covered in dust, has been an automatic minecart system that some of the automatons ride. None of us have been brave enough to try and approach it and ride the minecart. However, the corporal has tried on more than one occasion to get us to ride or to push us in front of it. I have reason to believe that we, or more specifically I, am being watched by a power greater than myself, possibly something on the level of Didna. My reasons for believing this is because some of the automatons whose eyes are normally a bright sky blue tend to have deep but vibrant eyes and stand just around a corner, only stopping to peek out at me when someone else I am traveling with looks. It is incredibly eerie, and I feel incredibly uncomfortable now whenever I am alone in any capacity, even if it is just keeping watch, when I can easily wake up other members of my division. Uh, the strange automatons have yet to do anything, and for that I am eternally grateful. Today's lesson on Tophet culture will cover the land the Tophets reside on, the divine kingdom of Vathos. As I have mentioned before, in at least passing, the divine kingdom of Vathos is ruled by the Holy King, who is Didna's chosen one. The Holy King lives in the small opening in the ice cap in the middle of our kingdom. The, the castle was also in the castle is the Council of Elders, seven wizened Tophets that aid the king in his decision making, or those who rule the kingdom in case the current king is too young. Beyond the scope of the castle, there are also 16 states that are each watched over by an archbishop who would report directly to the Council of Elders. None of the archbishops are deacons. The number of deacons vary from archbishop to archbishop, ranging from 5 all the way up to 23. Every deacon watches over a county, and being the lowest form of government, they attempt to make them seem themselves seem larger than life to anyone below them. You could also be on a town that lives at the edge of a society that is not protected by the kingdom because you have the lack of valuable resources for the kingdom, so that if your town is destroyed by the terra firma, no one would even notice or care because your town does not matter in the greater scope of the kingdom. Um, yes, but that's unlikely to happen, as anyone that would choose to rule would care about everyone, even those that have nothing to offer. So if a town were to be destroyed and one of the residents kidnapped while the rest were killed, there would be a good reason for the kingdom not coming to the aid of the victim. To such a there like a war. Yes, there's a war, and that's why the divine kingdom of Athos hasn't come and helped me or the rest of my platoon division. Um, while we were stuck with the terra firma for what seems like forever. I, I, I'm okay. I have no qualms with my nation or the king. This is the end of log 5. I hope that I have helped with the cataloging of the past in the history books, and praise be to Dinah. Log 6. Enter ye who dare into the crucible of creation, where shadows dance and secrets lie in wait. Beneath the watchful gaze of the unseen, the forge beckons, the crucible of fate. Here amidst the whispers of ages past, the bold and the brave find their mettle tested. But heed this warning, O travellers of the abyss, beware the darkness that lurks within, for not all who enter emerge unscathed. Seek not answers where madness reigns, for truth is a blade that cuts both ways. Yet for those who dare to venture forth, the forge offers promise and peril in equal measure. May fortune favor the bold. That is the text that I found at the beginning of my excursion into the forge. It is also the text that I have found translated by my dear friend Lucifer, who has died in our most recent outing. To Lucifer, you shall be immortalized in the messages of my logs forevermore. I hope you enjoy your time in the fortune, and I feel that even though I do not wish it, the rest of us will be joining you soon. I do not wish to trample over the passing of my dear friend. However, I must still speak about the goings on of the forge, especially as we seem to have hit the point where I do not believe it can get much weirder. The rules of space seem to not matter as much, it seems, at this point in our journey. Many rooms are next to each other, however, have space that extend into the next room without cutting into its actual space. Um, what else? Uh, Many halls seem to loop back upon themselves, even for those who walk in a straight line. I cannot conceive any reason for this happening. However, I assume that no one would be able to, as it breaks the laws of reality. The automatons have quit following me, but other strange occurrences have been happening when only I am looking at them. For example, right now I am currently looking straight into an enormous eye that is looking down upon me from higher up on the wall. I believe every time I close my eyes, it gets just slightly closer. This end this ends the portion of these logs about the forge and starts my section about Tophet culture. This time we shall delve into the legends and myths of my culture. First is the Ballad of the Moon and the Man, a poetic tale that tells of a forbidden love between a Tophet gentleman and a serpent of the moon. As the story goes, the man, entranced by the creature of the night, no, the man, entranced by the serpent's luminous beauty, defies societal norms and embarks on a clandestine romance with the creature of the night. Their love blossoms in secret, but tragedy strikes when their forbidden union is discovered by the jealous Tophet maidens. Enraged by his defiance, The maidens kill the serpent, condemning the gentleman to live without his one true love. His heart forever haunted by the memories of his lost love. The ballad serves as a poignant reminder of the consequences of defying social norms and the enduring power of forbidden passion. I have given you a summarized version of this tale, as the eye does not seem pleased that I spoke of it, and has been narrowing ever since. As the eye does not seem pleased that I spoke of it, I will be ending this log sh- quickly and shortly, so I may find a way to get rid of it. This tale has been claimed to be false and the man who wrote it deemed crazy. However, it is still entertaining and will put children to sleep when they do demand a story. This has been my sixth log. Praise be to Dinah. Hello all, this is Researcher Sprite, here to mention that this log mentions forms of self-harm. If you do not wish to hear about this, you may skip to the time placed on screen. Log 7. I have managed to escape the eye that I mentioned at the end of my last log, and have found a way to keep them from following me. I have used one of the knives we brought with us to carve some symbols that frequently appear in this place into my forearm. I have noticed that with these symbols the eyes have yet to show up, however the automatons have returned to following me. I still have no clue why they do so, or why they do not react to me looking at them, but do so for everyone else. We have discovered more rooms that fill up the inside of this forge. One, and only one of these rooms, was filled with strange items that have something strange about them. And that is the only way I can explain it, truly. First was a cloak that allowed one to swap places with someone else instantaneously as long as both participants were in shadow. And the second was a necklace with a piece of amber as the pendant. On that piece of amber was one of the markings that I put in my arms. However, we do not know what it does. I assume it would keep the eyes away. However, we don't have any way of knowing, and I only wish we had found this before I created my own solution. Third was a book written in the same script as the note from the beginning of my journey. However, we cannot decipher it, as Lucifer is still gone. May he rest in peace. Lastly was a crystal ball that allowed whoever held it to see into their past and present. Or at least that is what my division believes. For whenever they attempt to view the future, the crystal turns black. However, when I look, I see myself floating over the world for but a fraction of a second before I get a sharp pain in my head. But that is all the notable parts about these last few days. So now, on to the culture of the Toffets. One of my interests before I was stolen from my home was that of the culinary traditions of the Toffets, so that is what I will be discussing in this log. Before I had even gotten my recorder, I would help my father make food for the communal feasts of Didna. We would have these feasts every 10 days just in case a lone traveler came by, so we could serve them to our delicious food that we would prepare. Very few times did this ever happen. However, when it did, it would be a great help to those in need, or even to just feed those that showed up. My favorite meal to make was flame crest soup, a thick soup made from the tender meat of a flame crest beast. I wish for this dish to be remembered beyond myself and even beyond the Tophet people. So, here is the recipe for this delicious meal. You may have to improvise on some of the ingredients if it is too hard for you to get them, or if you are from somewhere far away and do not have these exact ingredients. You will need the following to make this recipe: 1 weight unit of flame crest beast, 1 volumetric unit of diced onions, some garlic, 4 volumetric units of flame crest broth, 1 volumetric unit of cornmeal, 3 volumetric units of water separated into 2 and 1 units respectively, 1 volumetric unit of Zephyr fire sauce, 1 weight unit of Moonstrader cheese, and some demon chili powder and ember dust. To start, you should cook the flame crest thoroughly and set it aside in a large. Next, in a large pot, you saute the onion and garlic before adding the broth, and then Combine the cornmeal with the 2 units of water and mix together until well blended. Add the mixture to the pot with the onions, garlic, and broth. After adding the mixture, you should add the remaining water, the zephyr fire sauce, moon strider cheese, and seasonings to the pot. Then bring it to a boil. As it is boiling, shred the fillets and add them as it starts boiling. Lower the heat and wait for it to thicken. After it is thickened, it is ready to eat. I hope you enjoy this dish as much as I did. The terra firma do not seem to enjoy the vast array of flavors that surround them, opting to instead eat small pills that grant all the nutrition one needs. However, with my favorite meal now being immortalized for time immemorial, I shall end this log. Praise be to Dinah. Log 8 was incorrect about one of my earlier statements within the logs. I have found things even weirder than the space distorting. And while some of it is not as weird in a metaphysical sense, it is still strange and unsettling nonetheless. For example, we have found rivers that travel from room to room. However, instead of water, they have this viscous black goo that runs through them and causes a mild stinging pain when touched. We have also found a room that has what seems to be infinite space, not horizontally, as it is only about 15 deca-units deep and wide. However, I cannot see the top of this room. In the center, a whorl of flame and shadow sits, reaching up infinitely to presumably the roof. I have not shared the following information with my division yet. However, I feel a warmth from the fire, more so than it being a fire. Um, I feel connected to it in some way, the same way I felt connected to the eyes or the automatons that followed me. I assume it is for the same reason, however, I don't know if that is correct, nor what the reason would be if it is correct. We have also found more of the enormous automatons that I described in an earlier log, the ones that stood 10 times as large as the terra firma and were collecting dust. However, these ones were not doing such. They were moving around. We are currently unsure about their hostility, but we can assume they could be hostile to those who are first hostile towards them, as they look to have the hilts of large swords strapped to their waist. I shall inform you on the nature of these automatons and how hostile they are, should we learn about it, but hopefully it will not come to this. This is all that has been discovered by my division in the past 10 or so days, and has become tradition. As has become tradition, we will now transition to Tophet culture. This log will cover the creation, existence, and burning of a Tophet's faded tapestry. A faded tapestry is one of the many cultural talismans of Tophet culture, and the only one that every Tophet owns, because each Tophet makes their own, leading them to be very unique and diverse when looking at one from the other. Uh, we do this at a young age with the help of our parents and grandparents. The art on any one Tophet's tapestry represents them in some way, whether that be an abstract showing of an accomplishment by the Tophet whose tapestry it is, or just a pattern that they thought looked nice. Each tapestry is unique, special, and should never be looked down upon. As a Tophet ages, their tapestry grows, and as their story goes on. It is said that those with interesting stories in their tapestries are blessed by Dinah to gain great luck and adventure on an even more thrilling adventures. In times of need, one might pray to their tapestry to possibly gain insight from Dinah. This insight will likely not come right away. It might take hundreds of days to come to fruition, or it might not even ever come. But we do know that Dinah is looking over us and out for us. When a Tophet dies, they are wrapped in their tapestry and burnt, so that they have proof of their stories and the fortune for those who are not there to experience their stories. Uh, if you are not from Tophet culture, you might see it to be sad to live their tapestry of the fallen. Uh, However, it is a noble thing to do in Tophet culture to keep looking forward and to not dwell on the past. Uh, this concludes my log. I will meet up with you again in approximately 10 days. Praise be to Dinda. Log 9. I regret to inform you that Asmodeus has passed away. He was not paying attention to his surroundings, and one of the guardians of the forge, the giant automatons that we discovered scattered around, saw him. It drew the hilt of its blade, and as it did so, the blade surged to life with a gleaming blue light that grew as large as the guardian itself. Even if Asmodeus had seen the blade coming, he could not have done anything, as despite its enormous size, it moved incredibly quickly. Um, on a lighter note, not much lighter and not very light at all. It will help for the history books or books that disclose the workings and goings on inside the forge. Um, the Guardians are hostile towards anything. Uh, uh, more specifically, they attack anything they can see, but they do have bad eyesight, it seems. Yes, one more thing. I have done something incredibly inadvisable. While my division was asleep, I was on guard, and I left them. Which I know it's stupid, and before you say anything, please just wait, because it is not the most stupid thing that I did last night. I snuck off to find the swirling pillar of shadow and flames that I spoke of in our last log, and once again, not the most stupid thing I did last night. After I reached the fire, I stepped inside of it, and I would love to say that I was surprised by the fact that I did not burn, but I'm not. I stepped in because I knew I would not burn. As I entered the pillar, I found a shard of pure black darkness, and I grabbed it. This is where you may tell me how stupid I was being by touching an unknown artifact that was presumably hidden away in this defense system of fire and shadow. Uh, but I grabbed it and immediately found myself back at my camp right before I was to swap guard duty with another. Um, when I woke up, presumably the next day, I felt the shard in my pocket, and there were more other strange appearances or occurrences appearing. Um, the visions of the people of the past have started facing me with stares, no longer in conversation with beings that aren't there. And it is not just me who can see these stares either. All of my division have also noted this. However, have not gone further in. Aside from the corporal, of course, who has forcefully patted me down, although he has never noticed the shard in my pocket, even though he has touched where it was multiple times. I will inform you of any new discoveries I find, either from having the shard in my possession or just the general strangeness of the forge when it appears. But that is all that has happened since the last log. So now we will delve into Tophet culture, as has become tradition. Today we will delve into the games of my culture, and most specifically, the game of Demon Dice. The the last game that I played with my family. Uh, yes, right. To play Demon Dice, you need a group of people that you are willing to be around for quite a long time. You then each make a character concept that seems cool or badass, or that you just wish to play, aside from one person who runs the game and decides on things from an omnipotent perspective. When I played with my siblings, we decided to make one character that we could each control, but most people play the former way. After you have your concept of the character, you need to decide on the mechanics your character will use, usually described as the ABCs of character creation. These stand for A, ancestry, the look of the character that you play, along with some small features. B, background, what your character was doing before their adventure started and whatnot. C, class, what your character is as an adventurer. Do they cast spells? Do they use huge weapons? Do they rely on their mind to defeat opponents? Etc. After everyone has their character, the one person who did not create a character creates rather a story and a world and multiple characters for their friends or family to go through. Playstyles differ from person to person. Some prefer to go into dungeons and just hack and slash their way through, while some prefer to roleplay and have less combats. Any way is a good way to play as long as everyone also agrees and likes the game that they're playing. But this concludes my talk on Gothic culture, and by proxy, this log. I wish that everyone can have a good time playing the games that they want to play, and to end us out, praise be to Dinah. Hello all, this is Researcher Sprite once again. The section on Gothic culture in this log describes a game with striking similarities to the game of Dungeons and Dragons, found in Universe 1742E3 on planet 329238, better known as Earth by its inhabitants, or other games in other universes. The one connection between all universes, though, is that the name of this game is always alliterative. I just wish to clear things up for those of you who may have also spotted this similarity, and were curious about how they might be familiar with this system. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful life. Log 10. The shard that I found in my previous log is more strange than I initially thought. It not only affects the visions scattered around the forge, but it also cannot be interacted with by someone who does not know that it is there, and it cleanses the black goo running from room to room, making it a shining gray metallic color while I am near it. It has also increased my physical strength, allowing me to easily carry at least twice what I was able to before. I also feel as if something is physically touching, poking and prodding at the front of my head and past it into my intellect. Uh, but now the goings on of those beyond myself, and the Forge in general. Uh, we have finally found a physical threat to us that we can defeat and do not need to hide from. I do not relish in this, and in fact, I do rather dislike it, because even though we can defeat them, it is still difficult to do, not only physically, but mentally too, as we do have to kill this living creature. They appear as large felines with technological enhancements, along with odd mutations similar to those of the wolves I described in the second log. We have also decided on the name Autobeast, as it is a portmanteau of the two most striking features about them, their automata-like enhancements and their bestial forms. It also seems that they are after my shard, as there is always at least one of these beasts that only attacks me, despite Belial and the Corporal both being much more aggressive and threatening. I have managed to defeat the beasts that attack me, um, and I know that if I give up my shard, my problems would be solved for the most part while inside the forge. But I still feel connected to it in some way, like it's a close friend. But until I figure out why I feel this way, we will move on to the section about Gothic culture. This time, we will talk about some of the rituals that take place to worship Dinah. Um, One of my least favorites in my youth were the pilgrimages we took. These pilgrimages were different depending on the town you lived in. However, me and my village would walk across the beach until we reached our final destination point, an ancient monument of Didna shaped as a four-leaf clover that has since been destroyed. The only part that still stands is the stem of the clover. Two leaves are within 10 deca-units of the stem. One of the leaves was taken to our village so that we always have a holy artifact of Didna near us, and the fourth is missing. But I have heard tales from my ancestors of it being a full statue and monument. There was also the crafting of talismans that, looking back on it now, were possibly just something to keep the children busy during church days, but it was fun nonetheless to create small trinkets with my friends and siblings. The elders of my village would do some divinatory rituals to attempt to communicate with Dina to see the future of my village and how we would fare for the coming 1,000 days. Should they see something bad, they would initiate a lucky blessing ceremony where everyone would bring something that they personally considered lucky, whether that be something stereotypical like your four-leaf clovers or rabbit foots or it could be something that is specific to one person, to the town center, and they're all put into a large cauldron that is later filled with celestial wine and stirred around. After everything was incorporated into the wine, the adults would all have a glass to give praise to Didna with all of the power of the Lucky Charms. This concludes the 10th log. I will be back with more information next time. But until then, praise be to Didna. Log 11. I think I get what this shard is. This shard is part of the fortune, Didna's divine realm. That's why I feel connected to it. Because my all my friends and family, they're trying to talk to me through it. This is why the monsters also wanted. They wanted to take it from me. They want to give it to the visions, because the visions want to see their families, but they can't move. They can't move, so they've had the monsters do it. But they can't move because they committed sins in their lives. Uh, they've committed sins. That's why they can't move. That's why they're forcing the monsters to come get it. Uh, and the strength I feel when I'm holding it, it's because my loved ones, my family, my friends, they're sending me their strength through it. I can't give up the shard. If I give up the shard, my family, they'll think I've abandoned them. I can't abandon them. I wouldn't abandon them. They know I wouldn't abandon them. But if I do abandon them, it would be bad. Uh, I can't give it up. Uh, but but aside from that, uh, there's been very little that we've discovered within the forge. We keep finding new hallways and paths, but they all lead to the locations I have mentioned before, such as rooms with inconsistent sizing, the symbols that float and produce water, the rivers of black goo that turn metallic when I get near them, and the automatons of varying sizes. The next time we encounter it, we are thinking of trying to hitch a ride on the automatic minecart system that I have mentioned a while back to see if it leads anywhere new. This is a risky move, and we have all acknowledged this. However, we are doing whatever's good for the terra firma, as the corporal would say. As always, I will update you with any new information that I learn in the next log, but seeing as we have not learned anything since the last log, we will wrap up this section here and get on to our discussions of Tophet culture. During this log, we will cover more legends from my childhood. Today is the sacrifice of Azazel. Azazel was a warrior from a long, long time ago that served in the military of ancient Vathos, which is how we refer to Vathos before Didna was revered as the one true goddess, when we were much more focused on gaining land. Azazel was a high general of the Vathos military and one of the king's most trusted advisors. Uh, but as you might be able to tell by the name of the story, this is a tale about both his best and worst day. Hundreds of thousands of days ago, an entity only known as Darkness appeared and threatened to destroy the world. It started in the very center of Vathos and only spread from there. Azazel, the brave warrior he was, decided that he would be the one to vanquish the darkness for the good of the planet. He mounted his loyal steed Moonstep in a fall-winter breeze and headed off to where the darkness was last seen. With nothing but his indomitable spirit, sense of duty, and his trusty blade, he fought for months on end with little to no breaks. At the end of his journey, he found the darkness, a tall figure draped in sheets with piercing red eyes. He fought valiantly for multiple days before falling to his knees. However, this was not the end of Azazel. In his final moments, he called on Didna for help. He made a deal where, in exchange for taking his own life, the darkness would also have its life stolen. And immediately after this deal was made, lightning would strike his position, killing both Azazel and the darkness. Every young Tophet looks to Azazel as one of their role models, along with their parents and the elders of their village. I have run out of time to record this log as I must complete my rotation on watch duty, so until next time, praise be to Didna. We still have yet to come upon the minecart systems. That is not to say we have not discovered anything new, however. All of the automatons, big and small, have completely stopped in their tracks and do not react when we approach, nor do they have any light in their eyes or cores. They seem to have died for one reason or another. My division does not have an idea as to why this happened, but I do. I think the shard I took is what was powering the forge, and I would put it back, but if I put it back, then my family will just think that I have abandoned them, but I wouldn't do that. So I could not. Um, but there are more than just selfish reasons for this, right? Right, right. Yes, yes. I am doing this for the good of everyone, not just for my family to be with me. If I put the shard back, then the large automatons will come back to life and threaten our lives again. Yes, yeah, yes. This is for the good of everyone to keep us all alive. Um, in other news, I have seemed to form vestigial wings on my back, likely a blessing from Lucifer that will grow into fully formed wings that can be used for flight, and likely how I will be soaring above the planet in the future. While I am grateful to Lucifer and everyone for this boon, I have had some time to think on the repercussions of my actions. If the automata have completely lost power, then the minecart system likely has also, and we can just walk over the tracks to see where they lead. I will communicate this to my division when we all wake, uh, although they will probably wish to see a stagnant minecart before they start. But it is just a theory. But these logs are not for discussing the strategy of my mission. They are for the documentation of the forge and my culture. Today we will talk about one of the prophecies in Tophet culture, the Three Looms, a prophecy about a set of triplets from long ago, further back than even the story of Azazel. They are reincarnated in times of great peril. The triplets are said to control the fates of those in 100 grand unit radius of themselves and make sure things turn out for the better. They each have a role to play. The first is the Weaver, in charge of the actual changing of fates. The second, the Spinner, in charge of picking the fates to change. And third, the Cutter. They cut the fates once they have reached their end. The prophecy emphasizes the fluidity of fate, acknowledging that while the fates may weave the threads of destiny, we are still mortals. And as we are mortals, same as them, uh, or they are mortals. And since they are mortals, same as them, we possess the agency to shape our own paths and fates. By embracing our own free will and making choices that align with our true desires, individuals can influence the course of their lives and change the constraints of fate. Every choice you make has a profound effect on the world around you that you will never know about because you made a choice. Now you cannot go back and see what would happen should you have done something different. That is the real lesson to be learned from the story. But this ends the 12th log. I will inform you of any new discoveries next time, but until then, praise be to Dinah. Hello all, this is Researcher Sprite. In re-listening to this log, I have discovered that littered all throughout it are extreme acts of violence. Although not graphic, I can see how some might be unsettled by these mentions and will provide a timestamp on screen to skip past these mentions. I believe it to be inadvisable to skip these mentions, as it would be skipping the entire first half of the log. However, if you wish to do so, I harbor no ill will towards you. Those of you who did not skip past these mentions, I do and hope you enjoy this log. Log 13. I have done something unforgivable. I cannot say exactly why I did such a thing, not because it would incriminate me, as I have already come to the conclusion that I will not be leaving this fort alive, nor is it because I do not wish for whoever is listening to this to think differently of me. You are your own person, and will come to your own conclusions. The reason I cannot say why I have done this unforgivable act is because I do not remember the exact reason. Other than the fact that I was getting slightly annoyed with Belial. Um, right. They have not explained what happened. I suppose you might have figured it out, but if you have not, I killed Belial. Belial and I never quite got along. We were able to work together well enough to survive in the forge for over 100 days, but during downtime and rest, I would try my best to avoid him to the best of my abilities. Um, but this time, when we were determining shifts, Belial was placed immediately after me. I told the corporal that I thought this was a bad idea, as we did not quite like each other, but he told me that I had to deal with it. So I did, until I had to wake him up. At first, he refused to wake up until I quite literally shook him awake. Next, he harassed me for waking him up to do his job. And lastly, he made fun of me, which was the straw that broke the camel's back. But it does not feel like I was the camel in this scenario. I blacked out, and when I came to, I was sitting on top of Belial's chest. He had black ichor dripping from his eyes and mouth and nostrils, a massive hole in his chest, and my hands were covered in wet blood and ichor. I disposed of Belial's corpse in one of the many holes torn into the floor of the forge, and stood guard for the remainder of Belial's shift. And when Israfel woke up, I told her that I woke up from hearing Belial scream as multiple, what I could assume to be auto beasts, dragged him off into the depths of the forge. And she believed me, making it much easier to convince everyone else. But to give myself some solace about what has happened, I will be reminding myself about what is to happen to Belial in the fortune, because even though I did not like him, I do not think he has done anything bad enough to be sent to the tragedy. The fortune is a location in the clouds, shimmering and beautiful castles line the golden roads. And the fortune is an ever expanding plain that will never reach an end, as every Tophet that dies gets a castle to themselves, a realm of boundless possibilities where vibrant landscapes stretch as far as the eye can see, adorned with lush forests, cascading waterfalls, and crystalline rivers that flow with the essence of life itself. Towering spires of iridescent crystals rise above the heavens, their shimmering surfaces reflecting the myriad hues of the celestial firmament above. In the center of the plain is a castle larger and more extravagant than the others that Didna herself resides in. It appears to be made out of the fabric of fate and luck, and has countless halls adorned with copies of every faded tapestry to ever exist. Throughout the fortune, the souls of the departed find respite from the trials of mortal existence, their burdens lifted by the soothing embrace of divine grace. Here they bask in the eternal glow of Didna's favor, their every desire fulfilled within the boundless expanse of this plain. Portals are scattered around the plain that allows those within the fortune to see their descendants and how the world has changed. Um, that is all I can remember about the fortune for now. But should I recall anything new, I will inform you about it. But this finalizes my 13th log, and as such, praise be to Dinah. Log 14. We have finally found and confirmed that the minecart system has also shut down. As such, we have decided to follow the tracks to see where they lead. For quite a while, the tracks just went through the same rooms we have known about, but after walking for multiple grand units, we emerged from the forge. Yes, we were outside the forge. We could have left. We should have left. But the corporal said that we needed to see where the rails led, and at the very least we could have walked back taking the exact same path. However, he clearly doesn't understand how this goddamn forge works, because we found the end, and I'll go over it later. But as he tried to pull a dagger and kill at least one of us in a surprise attack, he looked at me and seemed to freeze in place until we recommended to walk back. I don't know why he did that, but after we recommended it, he agreed, and as we retraced our steps, we never found the exit where we were previously at. But we still ended at the advanced minecart we started at. Anyways, back to the room. At the end of the tracks, we found a more cave-like room with crystal structures growing from the walls. As opposed to everything else in the boundaries of the forge, the crystals are iridescent, glowing, and beautiful. But other than that, they were not anything special. We took a few crystals with us in case they do anything inside the forge. However, I don't believe it to be likely. Um, but this concludes our section on the happenings from within the forge, we will now move on to the traditions of the Tophet section. Today, on a very grim note, we will speak about the rituals of death in Tophet culture. Before any Before anything else, when a Tophet dies, they are treated with the utmost respect and gratitude as family members or other designated carekeepers cleanse the body and bless them with sacred oils and perfumes so that they may appear elegant in front of Didna. Next, they are wrapped in their faded tapestry, placed in a casket, and taken to a church, where the priests of the church will hold ceremonies to remember the dead, new and old. Those close to the departed might have speeches, prayers, or offerings, or chants even to give to Didna for a more favorable place in the fortune. After the ceremony has concluded, the casket and the body. Uh, After the ceremony has concluded, the casket and the body are taken to a room behind the altar, where they burn the body, casket, and the tapestry to collect the ashes for the family of the deceased in decorative ceramic jars. It is customary for the jars of the deceased to have a significant place in the homes of their family, and for tribute such as food or wine to be placed before the jars regularly. Soul days are holidays celebrated when the previous holy kings pass, where we celebrate the deaths of everyone that has passed in the last 100 days. I realized that the burning of the tapestry might sound weird to those outside of my own culture, but there are reasons for it. First is for the deceased to have proof of their deeds in life. It is also what dresses them in the fortune. And lastly, we do not like to look at the past as a culture, but rather what is ahead and what we can change, and what happens then. This may seem as if this topic has come out of nowhere, as I have tried to keep happier, more enjoyable topics. However, I have learned something extremely disturbing and could not quite get this topic out of my head. In multiple dreams throughout the past 10 days, I saw quite vividly the demise of the 35 previous expeditions to mine. They were all gruesome and horrible. I do not wish to recount these for the sake of my own sanity, for the sake of your own sanity, and I do not believe it to be necessary. But after seeing these deaths, I could not get the idea of, of them not being able to reach the fortune because they did not get to experience the rites of death. And I hope that me mentioning the deaths and the rites would give them enough grace to at the at the end of their life to, at the very least, speak with Didna. This ends the 14th log of my logbook, and with that being said, praise be to Didna. Log 15. We have decided to attempt and leave the forge, and I have noticed quite a few things that I did not on the way in. I have seen multiple scrawlings on the wall that are in the same text that we found at the beginning of our expedition into the forge, but this time I somehow had an innate knowledge of what the writings say. I assume that this is because of the shard, as it is the only external thing that has changed from when I entered the forge, that and the carvings I placed on my skin, but I had seen the script after the carvings, and it had no effect. Um, None of it has been pertinent to me or my expedition, other than warnings, but I have paid little mind to these as we are leaving. Uh, that in itself is strange, yes, but the strangest part was when I found one specific message carved into the walls that I could not understand, nor did I know what it meant. I brushed it off as we were leaving, and I did not see the significance of it, but thinking back on it, I do believe it to be extremely important. Many more visions have also started appearing where they were not before, which is strange because they haven't moved before. And I know you may be thinking they were just moving while we weren't looking, but once again, they have not moved before, period. Um, I only have one assumption for that, and that is that they have shown up trying to steal my shard. They want to get into the fortune, but I refuse to give it to them. It's my shard with my family and my friends supporting me from the other side. Their loved ones are probably not even in the fortune because they were also probably sinners and are in the tragedy along with them, so I don't know why they want my shard if they already have their family. They're doing better than me right now. Uh, but that is everything I learned from the previous 10 days in the forge. And now for what I hope to be the last time. I think it is time we share my second favorite piece of culture. Obviously, with my first being the culinary aspects. However, my second is the fashion and adornments of the Toffets. Traditional Toffet garb consists of asymmetrical cuts, bold colors, fun accessories, and many layers. Also, a little personal touch. For instance, my church clothes had a high collar on the right that sloped down to the left, connected to a royal blue tailcoat with a longer left side to contrast the collar, a golden brooch that held a black cloak over my shoulders. I wore a white double-breasted button-up underneath all of that, and a golden clamp bracelet. Some Tophet in more well-off towns might have multiple variations of their versions of these clothes and would wear them more often, but in the town I was from, on the outskirts of the continent, I only had the one to wear, and only at special occasions. I did not mind this, though. It was fine. My parents spent likely an exorbitant amount of money on it. Um, some of the elders, however, have intricate tattoos. One of them has told me some of the meanings. For instance, they all have a coiled snake tattoo that represents healing and renewal. Some have crescent moons that represent intuition and the almost cyclical nature of life, and very few have a tree with sprawling branches that represent growth and resilience. One or two of them have an eye surrounded in rays of light that represent insight and enlightenment. But that is all I know about the fashion and adornments of my culture, as I was not truly able to learn everything in the time I had before I was taken. I believe that the next time we speak, I will have left the forge. But until then, praise be to the ah. Hello, this is Corporal Leckness, the TF in charge of Forge Excursion 36. One of the TOS has gone crazy. He seems to have found an unknown artifact, and it has given him inconceivable amounts of power. For example, he is currently Shit, this is the damn transponder. Whatever. To whoever finds this, the Toffets are an evil group of people. And what I'm saying here proves it. One Toff is currently floating through the empty halls of the forge. An eye-sized hole has opened up in his forehead, and inside it appears to be pure darkness. He has killed all of his fellow troops and has tried to kill me on many occasions. If you ever encounter this creature, be on guard and make sure to kill him at all costs. He's approximately 170 units tall, has a crown of horns, crimson red skin, a long devilish tail, and 3 eyes. However, he may be able to close the third and appear as though he only has 2. Once again, if you see this thing, you should kill him on the spot, as he will kill you and your kin. In the ending of the Cryptocracy of Drunium, let it be known that Corporal Leckness Adner, stalwart leader of the 36th Expedition to the Forge in the Sea, etches their name into the chronicles of our indomitable race. Guided by the unyielding spirit of the terra firma, we have embarked on this perilous journey to unveil the mysteries that lie within the heart of the Forge. With unwavering determination, Corporal Leckness Adner has marshaled the strength of our people, sending forth evil Toffets to pay for their crimes and face the shadows that haunt the Forge. This strategic initiative, born of our unparalleled might, reaffirms our conviction and that the terra firma stand supreme as the guardians of this planet and rulers of all others. As commander of this historic expedition, I, Corporal Leckness Adner, recorded the exploits of our valiant terra firma in deciphering the enigma within the forge. The annihilation of the threat of the top is paramount. If you don't, they will destroy your civilization too. My voice echo through the ages, a testament to the prowess of the terra firma and the unassailable strength of Leckness Adner, the architect of our glorious destiny. And remember to keep a watch out for anyone who looks to her. Help! Help! In the name of terror, someone, please, help! Hello, all. This is Researcher Sprite. I have come to say that even though in our records this is documented as log 17, the subject refers to this as log 16, as he either does not know about the previous message or, more likely, does not acknowledge it as one of his logs. I have also seen that there are mentions of self-harm inside this portion of the logs. With all of that out of the way, this shall start the final log found on this planet. Log 16. I am up far above the surface of my world, just as the ball said I would be. I suppose that it was correct. However, I was wrong. The shard I found was not a part of the fortune. I do not know what its origins are, but I know it's something far more twisted than what I have heard of even the tragedy. I've killed everything on my planet. The terra firma, the Toffets, the animals, the trees. Everyone and everything has been destroyed on this planet, aside from me. Well, me and a creature related to the shard that I found. I don't know what this creature is or how it has not been killed in the mindless massacre that I caused. But I do know that it is hiding somewhere. I believe that somewhere to be in the forest I talked about at the start of these logs, but I cannot be sure. I found my recorder near the body of my commanding officer. Whether or not he used it is not something I care to worry about. However, if he has, I assume he used it to blame this on me, which it is. I will admit that. But he also probably said something about how me and my people are evil and we should be killed on sight. If you are listening to this, I wish to let you know two things. One, all of the Toffets I knew before I was captured, and all of those who I spent time with in the Forge were good people, even those who I did not get along with. And two, even if we were not as good as I am saying we are, if we were as bad as he said we were, there are no more of us. Not even me. After this recording is finished, I will be investigating the forest for the creature of the shard, and afterwards will be taking my own life. I do this so that I may be with those I cherish in the fortune, or I will be sent to the tragedy and will atone for my sins. I am willing to accept either fate, as I believe myself suited for both. If there was anything else you wish to know about me, the planet I inhabited, my culture, the forge itself, I'm sorry I cannot answer your questions, but I implore you to imagine what it was like for yourself. Create your own stories, like the games of demon dice that I once played with my brothers and my sisters. Make your own great stories of loss and betrayal, and heroism and greatness, only two of which I ever had the chance to encounter in this life. I hope you learned something from my tale, and for the final time, praise be to Didna. This was the tragic tale of a man who overcame so many hardships just to fall in the end. I hope you enjoyed this saga. If you wish to learn about other stories, please subscribe, and in the words of our poor subject, praise be to Didna. Don't think I'll lose.